Welcome to the May Championship Challenge Guide. Let's talk about the best teams and strategies for every single map so that we can get 15 wins. All of the maps in here we have done before, or almost all of them, but there is a completely different meta now in the game, so it's very important to rediscuss all of these maps and what are the best teams and strategies to use for them. First, for Hard Rock Mine. It's a pretty standard gem grab map, but a very important strategy is to really just stay in that center strip of grass on your side, and you really want to maintain that control of the center, so that way you can keep your opponents out of their center strip of grass. It's going to make it a lot easier to target them, since obviously you know where they are, and it'll just help you keep control of the game. Now, if you're a melee brawler like Rosa, for example, you can go into your opponent's grass using that little side entrance if there's not too much risk of dying based on what your opponents have chosen for their brawlers, but also always be conscious about opponents running into your grass, and you really don't want to let them get that advantage because it can easily turn into a team wipe if you're not careful. Now, for the top teams, you can see Rosa is in all 5 of them. She's just super good on this map. High damage, high hit points, and when she has her plant life star power, since plants are everywhere, she's just going to be healing up like crazy. So Rosa is a very, very good option. Strongly recommend using her. She can apply pressure by going into your opponent's grass, and she's a very good brawler to have on your team to collect gems, tank shots, deal out damage, basically just do everything. Jean is another very good option with his magic puffs star power. He can just heal up the team whenever they need it. Penny is also pretty good. Her balls of fire just creates that extra area control you really need in gem grab to make sure you can take control of the mind and just farm those gems the entire game and get away clean without dying at all. And Rico is also very good just for damage and just for scouting out where your opponents are in the grass because of that ricochet. His bullets are going to be flying everywhere and making sure to check every little nook and cranny to make sure there are no brawlers hiding in there. Then there's that one team with the Poco and the Mortis. This is a really interesting combination, and I know a lot of people are like, oh my god, I hate Mortis, don't run him in any mode. But this team comp did have a super high win rate at 600 plus trophies, so I definitely think it does have some merit. With Mortis, you definitely want to run Creepy Harvest because gem grab is all about staying alive, making sure you're not losing gems if you have any, although you probably shouldn't have any if you're playing aggro Mortis. But it is very important to get that extra healing so that way you can get away safely, and Poco is really what makes this comp complete, because if a Mortis wants to go really aggro and try to get a solid team wipe, Poco's going to be there to heal him along the way with the gadget and his super. That's just an extra huge amount of healing that Mortis can really use along with his Creepy Harvest star power to make sure he can get like a successful team wipe, and that's really going to swing the game in your favor. Next up is Pit Stop. Now for Pit Stop, if you have any high damage brawlers, well, you should have some high damage brawlers, but for example, Bull and Barley are very, very good in Heist. You really want to try sneaking around the side using those bushes and try to get through that way, but mainly you sort of just want to rush the safe, and you only want to defend your opponent's high DPS brawlers because your goal is to just have more DPS on your opponent's safe than they have on yours. So if someone like Anita walks past you, don't defend, because the Nita only becomes high DPS once she gets her super. So if she just doesn't have your super and walks right past you and is now on your safe, she's going to be entirely useless the rest of the game. She's going to have super low DPS, and you're just going to melt their safe because they have one less person to defend. So just always be keeping track of who has what DPS where, and just make sure that you have the most DPS on the safe. Now in terms of the walls in front of the safe, if you have a lot of long range brawlers on your team, it's probably a good idea to break those walls as early as possible so that way you can get clear shots from far away onto the safe. But if you only have like one long range brawler, like a Colt for example, it might just be better to leave them intact and then have the Colt do most of the defending, so that way you can just always make sure that you're staying on the opposite side of the walls as your opponent. It really makes it a lot harder for them to defend because they have no way to effectively chase you down, because they're just going to be walking around the wall and you're just going to be walking in the same direction. They'll never be able to catch up to you unless they have 2 brawlers on there and are able to successfully pinch you. For the top 5 teams, Bull and BB clearly dominating here. They're both very, very good options. Bull obviously can charge in and deal an insane amount of damage, and BB is just great for pushing people back in defense. She's great for rushing up to the safe with her insane speed, and her super just gets a ton of damage if you throw it, so that way it bounces back and forth between the walls, and she's a very good all-around brawler in Heist. And then for the third brawler, there are quite a few options. You can run Barley because he just deals a ton of damage throwing over those walls. His super obviously melts the safe even faster. Spike is great for hitting a lot of brawlers, but obviously if you get on the safe, you can deal 5,000 damage per shot as long as you know exactly how to do that. Colt is very, very good for defense and of course for that extra DPS once he gets on the safe. So many different options, but BB and Bull are both very, very good on this map. Next up is some assembly required for this siege map. Now for general tips for this map, I literally just made a siege guide as my last video, so make sure to go check that out if you want to actually learn the more specific siege tips and how to win more consistently. But as for things specific to this map, you really just want to focus on using throwers for area control at the start of the game, since there's really not much open area to move around and there's a lot of walls, so it's very difficult to dodge throwers attacks at the start of the game. So you can really use that to take an advantage at the start and get those bolts, and you really want to make sure you get 2 bolts at the start to guarantee that your opponent can't get the first siege. It'll really help you win more games as long as you can get that first siege, or at least deny your opponents at a first siege. And one more thing, they actually did make a silent balance change in the last update to Siege, so now the bot actually can't target you if you have your shield from respawning. So that means now the strategy where you try to intentionally die and respawn so that way you can just tank the robot with your shield from respawning is no longer viable. Although I still think it is wise to respawn in some cases because it just completely recharges your ammo. It works best for brawlers who have a lot of hit points and a really slow reload speed, like Pam, for example, although she's not too great on this map. Because if you're low on health and you've just used all your attacks, it's better to just die because you get a full recharge of health and a full recharge of ammo, and it'll take a shorter amount of time than if you were to just stay alive and do nothing. Now, for the top teams for this map, there's a lot of BB in there. She's just very, very good after the recent balance changes. She can rush in with her home run star power and get those first couple bolts, which are crucial to winning the game. Frank's just really good for breaking the walls, stunning brawlers, and stunning the robot on defense. Barley and Sprout are obviously very good because, well, Barley can deal a lot of damage to the Ike turret. Both of them are just really good at maintaining control of the center and having that area control to force your opponents to not take the bolts, and then you're just going to get the advantage in the game. Jackie is also pretty good for maintaining that center control. She can hit around all those walls in the center, so she's really good at tracking down opponents, especially with her gadget, and just killing everyone, so that way your team has a person advantage and you can just take over. Next up is Canal Grande for the bounty map. Now here you want to try to have complete control over at least one side of the grass at all times. This is just going to make it a lot easier for you to keep everyone accountable and make sure no one goes off by themselves and ends up getting killed. Try to have like 2 people from your team in one side of the grass and 1 person maybe pestering the other side from your spawn point. Obviously it completely changes depending on how the match is going, but that's a good starting strategy to go in with. And another interesting thing about this map is that you can really push the entire enemy team just like back towards their spawn. And once they're in that situation, it's kind of hard to get out of it because of the way the map is structured. So you can pretty easily corner them and just get a full team wipe if you do that. So that is a strategy you might want to adopt if you really need to get a lot of kills quickly because you're behind. You can sort of try to push them all by pressuring them with attacks to go back towards their spawn, and you might be able to get away with it. It is a bit risky, so I guess only do this if you really need to, but it definitely is an option. So because of that, it's really difficult to play it safe on this map and sort of retreat back to your spawn because your opponents can corner you there. So just be wary that your opponents might be able to completely team wipe you in the last 15 seconds or so of the game, and just adjust your strategy accordingly. As for the teams for this map, Brock's going to be really good because he can hit all over the map with his long range. Same with Sprout, super long range, and a thrower is just very, very good, as well as the wall, which is really good for just blocking off that center portion of the map and allowing you to stay alive for as long as possible, and allowing Sprout to just get a bunch more attacks off while your opponent can't really do anything about it. And for pretty much the same reasons, Tick is also very good on this map as well. Rose is another good option with all the grass and her plant life star power, and she's just good 1v1s in a lot of situations. Finally, we're seeing some Daryl in here. He's also very good on this map. His super can just cross over the water whenever, and you can also sort of end your super to land on top of the water, and that'll force it to go even longer, and you can sort of surprise some people that way. So Daryl is a pretty good option on this map as well. And then finally, to get those last 3 wins, you're going to have to play Backyard Bowl with Brawl Ball, double BB. Now for this map, you really want to play quite cautiously at the start because it's so open in the center and it's really easy to get caught in every single one of your opponent's attacks and just die instantly, and that's bad. So really wait for the best opportunity to go in on your opponents and try to take advantage. And definitely, if you don't already, learn how to use your gadgets defensively and offensively, like right before someone is about to score it, because it's a relatively new feature. So I do recommend sort of going through this in your mind, how you're going to play out the game in your head. Like Nida's bear can just stun anyone super quickly whenever you want, so that's very, very good both on defense and on offense. If there's a bunch of opponents near the goal, you can just stun them really quickly and throw the ball in while they're stunned, and if they're about to score on you, you can just stun them, take the ball away, and move it away from danger. Ems can do similar stuff. She can just push everyone away with her gadget, clear everyone away from the goal, and knock the ball out of their hands at the same time. And Primo can just yeet someone across the field, and you also force them to drop the ball with that. So lots of gadgets can be used very effectively on these maps, so make sure you take that into consideration. But as for the best teams for this map, you can see Nida and Ems are basically the top two brawlers here. As I was just talking about, their gadgets are super useful for offense and defense, and they just deal so much damage apart from that. Nida with Hyper Bear, if you get that stun off, the Hyper Bear is just going to do some work on your opponents, and Ems just has super high damage output. Her star power is a bit 50-50, but I definitely like Hype a lot more, especially in Brawl Ball when it's a lot easier to get that many people in your zone because they're moving all over the place. Ems is just a very, very good choice in the meta right now, so I strongly recommend running her. BB is also another very good choice. Once again, she's shown up in most of the modes here just because she can knock people away with that charged attack and force them to drop the ball, and she just has that high damage output, really fast attacking speed, so all around very good choice there. But that's gonna wrap it up for this video, guys. I really hope you enjoyed. If you did, please do make sure to leave a like and a comment down below. I really love seeing all your comments and thoughts on the strategies I'm giving here. And also, please subscribe and turn on the notifications so you'll be the first to learn about all the strategies and guides that I'm putting out. Really appreciate it if you would do that. But that's all for today, guys, so see you later.